I'm sharing the main slide, the home page. Can you see, Mridul?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Thank you. Even now it's visible as I change the slide.
Yes, sir.
We started the course IKS 2 classes before. This is the 4th class. The aim of the course is to introduce you to the basic elements of the knowledge systems that the country has developed since a very long time. We have in the first lecture, we discussed about the general overview of the course. In the second lecture about the Vedic corpus. And in the third lecture about the further division of each Veda. We will start recapping the last lecture and continue forward. Recapping the last lecture. And the 4 Vedas was divided into Samhita portion, the Brahmana portion, the Aranyaka portion, and the Upanishad portion. Samhita was basically whatever we have discussed about the Veda, the main text portion of the Veda. The Brahmanas are like expansion manuals for the Veda, in which contains the practical keys and technical know-hows relating to the Vedic literature. So how to utter, how to listen, how to link up, these are the things we deal in Brahmanas. The word Brahmana comes from the root word Brahmana, the word meaning to expand. So they carry an elaborate explanation of each one of the 4 Vedas. So every Veda has its own Brahmana. And as I cautioned, the word Brahmana has nothing to do with the modern day caste word of Brahmin. And esoterically, it means to self-expanding principle of nature. And hence it expands upon the wisdom contained in the Veda. We have many Brahmanas like Aitareya Brahmana, Kaushitaki Brahmana. I have given the details in the last class. From where to these Brahmanas come, the symbols used like RV, YV, that Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda. The Aranyakas comes from the root word Aranya, the forest. They are those branch of knowledge which are dealt with that sect of people who have fulfilled their duties and then they retired to forest for seclusive and more introverted and self-analytical research on their own selves. That is why we call them Aranyakas. And they are more, though they are also practical, they are more philosophical as well as deeper in their approach. They explain the inherent symbol in the ritual as well as the physical import of the ritual. They help in progressively evolving the thought process from within to without and pave the way for the next stage of life. See, I have pointed out that there were 4 stages of life. We were kids, then we grow into teenagers, then a little into adults, and then into old age. Somewhere along, you feel like you have done like enough for all of your familial duties. You haven't, like when you're in childhood, you don't remember about your own self. When you're in teenage, you are too busy protecting your growing ego. Then when you're adult, you are trying to dissolve that ego in mutually understanding different people, making different associations and trying to identify mutual problems and solutions, etc. Finally, after all this, you would want to understand a little more about why are we on this earth, or what is this life, what is this creation, from where did it come, etc. And there are again 2 ways for it. One, the physical science way, and the spiritual science way. And the physical science way, we call them the modern scientists. Spiritual science way, we call them the path of Adhyatma. Basically something that is related to your soul search. So Upanishads are those, of course, Aranyakas are also philosophical, but if you can squeeze out the nectar of wisdom contained in the Veda into simply sublimical, pure essence of truths to be pondered upon and researched upon. Those are the Upanishads. Upa means nearer and Nishad means to sit, so they make us sit nearer to the truth of the Veda. They are the treatises dealing with the ultimate questions of life that we all have. And mostly for now, you might feel the questions of life are like, how can I complete this exam or this course or so and so module from college, or after that, what happens? What about my job, etc. But once you understand the flow of life, and that if you look around, almost 99% people are anyway living their life. So you would question once somewhere along that, am I just existing or am I living my life to the fullest? So that difference makes the happiness and sadness. Yes, someone is speaking. Hello? Did someone want to ask any question? Okay, if not, I'll continue. When you ask that question and when you find the answer, that if you are living your life and you are happy with it, then you are blessed, because it is the happy living that is much needed by most of us. We are often falling as a prey for the mechanical lives. We often forget that life is beyond our pre-planned web that is entangling us into a routine that we are unable to understand from where it has started altogether. The Upanishads are those scriptures which makes us question and understand such entanglements and helps us detach so that we can fly like a free bird. On broad sense, all these Vedic scriptures deal with three vivid things: the jiva, that is you, the individual being, and the world around you, all your friends, family, society, the nature around you, the artificial constructions around you, everything, technology, and the Ishvara, in whom both these, the jiva and the jagat, are taking birth, existing, and getting dissolved. So if at all there is one permeating agent throughout the universe, that permeating agent is what we call as Ishvara, or the God, or the Lord. We have seen how Upanishads have influenced most of the famous people all around the world, starting with Arthur Schopenhauer, Erwin Schrödinger, who exclusively mentions and quotes from the Upanishads for his ideas on universal existence of an electron. And Niels Bohr, who said, I go to Upanishads to ask questions, and one line is enough for us to understand the greatness of the Upanishads. So those people who could question, well, we are in a modern scientific world, why to go to all the scriptures? People like him are the examples to suggest as to what else you have missed seeing as a bridge between the modern science and the ancient philosophy or spirituality. T.S. Eliot, Annie Besant words. The most influential words are from Swami Vivekananda. Once again, we can repeat without any ado. He says, go back to your Upanishads, the shining, the strengthening, the bright philosophy, and part from all these mysterious things, all these weakening things. Upanishads have one subject, one task before them, to prove the following theme, and this is very important. You can etch them in the golden words. Just as by the knowledge of one lump of clay, we can know the knowledge of all clay. So what is that? Knowing which we know everything in the universe. To answer that, we need Upanishads. Always repeat the greatest mantras that we will be seeing, the Mahavakyas. Gandhiji and Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, even they revered the Upanishads to the fullest heights. Sri Aurobindo's words, as I pointed out last time, he is one of the greatest authors, seers, writers of all time. when he spent a lot of time in commenting upon Upanishads. Originally, over 1,000 Upanishads should be there, but only 1 or 8 are available to us in the current day modern world. And the statistics are as follows: 10 from the Rig Veda, 19 from the Shukla Yajurveda, 32 from the Krishna Yajurveda, 16 from Sama, and 31 from Atharvana. Remember, these are not randomly scattered. Every Veda has a particular theme, particular style, and to follow that theme, you have that particular Upanishad associated with the Veda. For example, also I have given the 10 most important Upanishads out of all the 108 Upanishads that is considered by everyone. And I'll give you an example. For example, the Aitareya Upanishad is from the Rig Veda. And I said just now that every Upanishad has a particular theme associated with the Veda which follows that theme. So the Rig Veda follows the theme of Rik. Rik means, I have pointed out in my previous lectures, that Rik means to utter a word or objectify creation. We have learned about, remember, the concept of 4 stages of a word, Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhariva, as to how we imbibe an impulse, then mental blueprint occurs, before that a cloudy idea occurs, after which a mental blueprint occurs, and then the physical word occurs. So this is basically objectification of the universe from the subjective side of the things. This is how everything is created. In fact, even before presenting this lecture, everything was in the subjective state with me. Only when I utter forward, you are understanding it as an object separate from you, trying to imbibe and dissolve inside your being. But once you have heard, once you have understood, I can't separate that knowledge from you. It has become one with me. So this is the nature of wisdom transfer. To suggest this objectification of the universe, the word in Sanskrit is itara. Itara means something that is separate from you. So that Upanishad which shines knowledge on the Itara side of the Veda is called Aitareya Upanishad. So Aitareya Upanishad is basically for explaining the objectification of the universe from the subjective side. Similarly, you have all other Vedas, like Ishopanishad brings in the glory of the Lord of everything. Kena, Katha, for example, brings in the dialogue between Nachiketa and death. Prashna, where 6 students ask some questions to a seer and then he answers in an innovative way. Mundaka, Mandukya, I have commented upon that. Mandukya basically deals with Om, the principle of Om, its utterance, how Om itself is omnipresent Lord. Taittiriya, one of the very important Upanishads of all, which gives basic instructions for all the beginner stage students to advanced stage students. Aitareya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka. Out of this, the smallest is Mandukya and the biggest is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brihat means big, and Aranyaka itself suggests it's like a forest. You have to go through with the torch of the wisdom given by your guru. This is the book that I authored. The Mahavakyas from Upanishads, which are like, you can say, ultimate sayings of the Upanishads, are as follows. Tattvam Asi, this is from the Samaveda. That you are. So here that means whatever we point to, like he is so and so, she is so and so, it is, then that is stable. This is chair, or this is my pet, whatever, whomever you point out. The essence is in you and in them is the same thing. Even if you want to argue physics wise, you can say the same thing. Like, what is matter made? We are made up of matter. Of course, there is something other than matter, but if you consider matter, because that's the only thing we can study right now, matter is made up of atoms, atoms is made up of protons, electrons, neutrons, subatomic particles, etc. But eventually, after all the filtrations, what are you left with? You will be left with what is known as energy. And if I ask what is energy, then there ends the question. You can't answer more than or beyond. This final stage, iterated version of that is what is being pointed out in Sanskrit as tat. So because we are verily that, you are unable to describe it further. It's like, can your tongue taste itself? Can your eyeball see itself through it? Of course, when you put a mirror, it can see its reflection. But while seeing through the eyeball, it cannot see itself. Similarly, you cannot describe about yourself while you are in that state of view. So this is a philosophy behind the Tattvamasi principle. Then Aham Brahmasmi. All these are interrelated. It's again the same thing. When you're pointing outward that Tattvamasi, you are the. This is pointing from inward that Aham, the I inside us, is the omnipresence, the Brahman. Prajnanam Brahma. With what I am thinking, that is also Brahma, or consciousness is Brahman. And I am Atma Brahma. This Atma or that Atma, whatever you call, you are speaking as soul, is nothing but the teeny tiny miniature one is nothing but the grand existence. These are some Mahavakyas, or we can call it the grand utterances of the seers, which should be understood as the truths realized by them rather than we claiming these as our own realization. When you do something wrong, you can't say, well, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, so you can't punish me. You can't say that because you haven't realized the truth or you haven't realized the essence of the statement. And that is why you have done something wrong and you are in a state to be punished. So there is a very intricate web of arguments behind any doubts that may occur in your head. So bear with me. Some of the things will may deal in future based on the time. Otherwise, I'll give guidance as to how to proceed into such arguments. This is called the Nyaya side of the philosophy in the IKS. In all the framework, you might have seen the Nyayavada. The Nyaya and Vaiseshika, these two deals with how to argue, how to create an argumentative approach for certain doubt without destroying the main theme in between. Nowadays, if you open news channels, you see some debates going on. Initially, it starts very good. And by the end of the debate, either they throw things at each other, they walk out on anger. Mostly you'll see the rajas or the anger being the predominant aspect. But in the olden days, there were rules in arguments. You cannot display anger. If you cannot answer, either you have to agree the defect or you have to refute or defend your statement with a more logical argument. And the rules are very strict and they're very finest as well. In the whole world, no one has composed certain set of rules in that good order. This you will see in the Nyaya. The textbook I suggested for the course, the Introduction to Indian Knowledge System by Mahadevan and others, that textbook has very good details about these arguments and all. I don't know if your library has got it yet or not. If you have got it or if you personally ordered, I do recommend to sit through it during your holidays time and read through a little more to, imbibe that habit and culture of our ancients. It's one of the good books, a very beautiful book. Okay. We'll take few examples from the last time I ended up with these one or two examples, but we'll continue our sessions with a few more examples, which are very important for us to follow. The course IKS is not only for you to know things. If possible, you need to follow it in everyday life. Otherwise, when you learn something and when you do not follow it, it doesn't give much meaning to what is already being taught and time spent by you, right? You are spending time to learn something. And the learning is to be output. And the output is via the way you behave in life. Not only in a specific task you should output. That's a very shallow way of looking. The Upanishads provide deep spiritual insights into fundamental aspects of life. They serve as a fountainhead of knowledge and wisdom for us to lead a successful and happy life, which is very important. And of course, the definition of success changes from person to person, but over a period of time, when you define your success and you take an average of how you are defining, you'll see that being happy itself is the essence of definition of success, nothing else. Like, let's say a person has $1 million with him, but his body is full of diseases. And a person has 0 paisa in his pocket, but he is very healthy and he knows 1 or 2 donors who thrice or 4 times in a week gives him food. And he's chilled, he's happy. He is, in Hindi we call it bindas. Then which one do we call success? The $1 million guy or the one who is peacefully happy? So that sense of peaceful, and though this is an ideal example, which may not be possible by everyone, but whether you have money or you don't have money, if you are happy, whether you have power or don't have power, you are happy. Whether you have the possessed things and you don't have what you wanted to possess, certain things, or certain associations, certain relations, everything. In either of the dualities, if you are happy, one can define that as a true success. And this kind of maturity will come either through the many hammering hits of nature on us, through life events, or via self-retrospecting and adjusting before even nature hits us. Let us take examples from Taittiriya Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad to understand the interesting ways and points in what these Upanishads are trying to teach as an example. And they can also form a point of discussion, If this was a physical class, I would have made groups and made some discussions, but as that is not possible, I am hoping with the goodwill that when you have free time, you would start some nice, healthy discussions. The very first example we have is the convocation address given by the seers. Veda Manu Charye Ante Vasina Manu Shasti. Anushasti means they are discoursing like this. Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, Swadhyayan Ma Pramadaha, and so on and so forth. What does this mean? Speak truth and practice dharma. What is truth? Everyone knows that, but what is dharma? Someone's mic is switched on. Speak truth and practice dharma. Dharma has a very wide application of its sense of meaning. First of all, it is understood that this speech is being given to those people or those pupils who have underwent the Vedic training, which means they know the meaning of dharma precisely. Because we are outside the domain, to understand dharma, we can go to some of the scriptures back, but the broader meaning would be lawful living. So there are 2 kinds of laws, one natural law and one man-made law. Both lawful living is what we can coin as dharma. One natural law means you should not destroy your hunger by drinking lots of carbonated drinks. Because what happens after that? Acidity, stomachache, then indigestion, many things will occur, you will ruin your life. This is natural. This is pertaining to natural law, living lawfully. That means maintaining your hunger as healthy as possible. Man-made law, of course, the what we call as Kanun, I think in Hindi, not doing the illegal stuff, adhering to the set of rules defined by the country, whichever country you are in, etc. Then the Vedic seer says, do not neglect the study of the Vedas. So the import there is that the pupil are from the Vedic heritage, so he or she is asking to continue the study of the Vedas. In our context, this can be the continuity of learning. Holidays मिल गया, हम अच्छा enjoy करेंगे, फिर एक पन्ना भी नहीं पढ़ेंगे. If you think so, 10 दिन के लिए. Like for 10 days, you don't even touch a page of your work. And then you go back to college and suddenly there is a surprise quiz. That's it. Our jaw drops to the floor. Right? That situation shouldn't come. If there is always a continuity of learning, we'll never face a situation where we are empty-handedly caught. We'll always be ready to answer anyone. And also, we'll always be in touch with what is very important. Here, that point is to be grasped from the message. Having brought to the teacher the gift he deserved, as I pointed last time, the fee of study is not paid before the teaching. It is paid after the whole course of teaching. The course of teaching is not a year, 2 years, or 4 years. It is for more than 7 years. Therefore, it's not a short time. And you can see how benevolent the teachers are, because it's not even like day scholar kind of studies. In the olden days, the Gurukula studies are like this. The guru has to maintain the students. He has to feed them, take care of the health, teach them, train them, orient them. There are many aspects to it. And he doesn't expect any fee. Of course, the fee is via your good behavior and you bringing a good name to the teacher. Or if you have money and the guru has no problem in accepting money, you can, of course, give the money as much as deserved or your ability. But guru never asks, because one of the propositions of the Veda itself is do not seek or ask for the riches. Therefore, they would be adhering to that. But if you give, because it is to maintain the other set of students, they would accept definitely. I also remember a person who is always in a position to take cannot be a guru unless it is for a wider importance, because person whose mind is always in terms of taking something, what can he offer to us? It will only be a businessing offer rather than natural teaching. Therefore, from the olden days, if at all the modern culture has to imbibe something, the education should be made business free, and the education must be looked upon as pious as possible. But that will be possible when the education system itself changes to inculcate the IKS topics and interweaves its course with it. Because at the way the current education system is, as you know, if I ask you, why are you studying 4 years of engineering? You'll say to do a job. So it is to do job we are studying, but not to understand the reality of nature. In the class of 600, I hardly doubt how many people are there who are really wondered to know the hardcore topic as to how a computer works. What really happens inside a computer? What do you mean by writing a code and pressing the enter? When the code executes, what is happening in that circuit? What are electrons? Why are we looking at a screen when electrons are flowing in the motherboard? What's really happening? So that inquisitiveness has been killed very long ago when the schools have started the rat race in getting results than to think in the right attitude. So we need to revive the thinking of right attitude. We need to put a stop to the rat race. Then we need to start enjoying the subject we are doing. Then the results will be automatically high. We need not push or focus on them. Such things are still lacking in the modern days, and I hope in near future some changes will come. Anyway, enter the householder's life and see that the line of progeny is not cut off. Basically, when one studies philosophy and Upanishads and all this, when one is not under the right instruction, they'll get a feeling that, well, I'll go to forest, I'll leave family, ye janjat hai, sab moh maya hai, I'll leave everything and go off. But if you go to forest, who will feed you? Who will take care of washing your clothes? Again, you need to build a house there. Again, you need to plow, you need to cook, you need to do everything that is needed to live. It's not like you're going to float in the air, take the sun's energy, and you're going to be super duper awesome, right? That's not the reality. And nowhere in the Vedas that is told. Therefore, if you leave the household and if you cut the progenical line, there is no cycle of mutual help and the society would collapse. In fact, this is what happened during the time of Adi Shankaracharya, if you have heard the name Shankaracharya, he is the proponent of Advaita philosophy in India. So during his time, when Buddhistic philosophy was prevalent and this slightly misunderstood the Buddhistic philosophy into nihilism. Nihilism means even this moment is not there, so everything is illusion. When they have, so everything is illusion as a truth is a different, but when you take the everything is illusion as a fact and do not do anything, things became stagnant. They started not marrying, so society started to collapse. It went into contamination, and you can say what do we call stalling of a cycle. That is when Sri Adi Shankaracharya went throughout India, established 4 ashrams in the 4 corners of India, and then started preaching the Vedanta in a new light. Instead of nihilism, he taught the true meaning of illusion and how you can cut the layer of illusion by yet staying in the familial cycle. So that was a very big revolution, you can call it. Even nowadays, whenever we get a problem, we go into pseudo melancholy and pseudo Vedanta, saying that, oh, yeah, I will run away from this problem. Well, everything will take care on itself. I'm not responsible, but you should not run. Because the Veda or the soul or the core of Indian knowledge systems never asked you to run. It always asks you to face the problem, but with a detached mind. These things will be understood the more and more and more you get dived into the Indian philosophical systems. And then do not swerve from the truth. Do not swerve from dharma. Basically, Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, whatever they started, they are asking, while you're following, do not be tempted to ever step beside that path. We all know that the evil forces are all behind, around us, always tempting. So during my time, what happened? A few of my friends bunked class, okay? And I was asked, hey, Teja, you also bunked class. I just came from Hyderabad that time and I was too studious in those days. Later on, yes, I became a little less studious, but again, became serious in my studies. That's the whole journey. But in that phase, what I told was, well, I came all the way from Hyderabad not to bunk classes. I will attend the class. And the same friends who saw me bunking a class in my 4th year because I had some project to do, repeated that statement to remind me that I came from Hyderabad not to bunk class. So such things are funny in those at that times, but right now, if you retrospect, you'll see how important it was to go to class. Because now I would say definitely that because I missed few classes, definitely there was a cut in the flow of understanding. And that cut in the flow of understanding is very hard to patch, especially at the engineering level, because the continuity is super fast. Within a day, within a week to week, there is so much syllabus that is being taught. That's why, unless it is emergency health reasons, we should almost try to attend classes and understand and listen as much as we can. That is our dharma as a student. So escaping from that, watching seasons or playing games or just chit-chatting or just going to movies, all this is going away from the dharma. Of course, as you know, natural cycle has its own course. The hammer is always ready to hit on our head from nature. During exam times or the result or somewhere, the hammer will come, hit us, and we'll start repenting. We should never waste time because our time is borrowed time. We should remember that. We are living happy because someone else in the border is protecting us, the soldier. Someone else in the field is toiling from day to night, who is farmer. Someone else have sacrificed many of their likings for our sake, our parents. So it is the borrowed time of all these people that we are living right now. And if you spend it just like a camphor drying into thin air, there's no meaning for our life. So understanding dharma should be very deep. And do not neglect personal welfare. Do not neglect prosperity in the name of pseudo philosophies. Don't say, I don't want to work, I don't want to earn. Earning and maintaining the family is one of the primary duties always prescribed by the Veda. No saint asks you to come with him and leaving away family because family is dependent on you. Therefore, you should leave the family only when they are self-sufficient and That is why in Vedanta, you have the clause. You can take a sannyasa only with the permission of your parents or your spouses, without which you're not allowed to enter into sannyasa. And the permission will be given only when they are self-sufficient and self-understanding of you. And finally, do not neglect the study and teaching of the Vedas. So whatever I taught you right now, let's say, of course, I would expect you to teach to your juniors or whoever comes into your life after a while. There should be continuity of teaching and thought. The next instruction from the Taittiriya is Deva Pitru Karyabhyam na Pramaditavyam Matru Devo Bhava Pitru Devo Bhava Achari Devo Bhava Atidhi Devo Bhava, and so do not neglect your duties to the gods and maids. Practice mundane and spiritual both. Treat your mother as God. Treat your father as God. Here, God doesn't mean you give prasad to the idol and you eat it for yourself. It's not like that. It doesn't mean in that way. Here, God can imply your reverence, your bhakti, the devotion, the attitude that you're showing, when you understand what motherhood is, what fatherhood is, then you will start realizing how deeply you are indebted to their role in your life and how you should lead your life. Treat your teacher as God and treat your guest as God. Basically, then comes your teachers, and guests here implies anyone who comes to your home, either with intimation, without intimation, or anyone around you. Whatever deeds are faultless, they are to be performed, not others. You know what is good and what is bad. Of course, you are tempted most of the times to bad, most of the times to good. There is always a balance in life. If you maintain and keep on choosing good and train yourself using your willpower to choose good, you'll understand what the seers are trying to say and why they are trying to say. Then we have whatever good works have been performed by us, not the teachers are saying at the end of the convocation address. Well, if at all you want to mimic some of our actions, then please do take only the good actions from us. We, bound by karma, might have done some bad actions. Please do not do them, because it is both harmful for us and harmful to you as well. Therefore, always try to choose good, which means you will, if we are good, you will be better and the next generation will be the best. That's the hope. Now, a nice story. We will start here. Until here, we have discussed the very serious and theoretical points to be put in practical life. Let's take another episode from Taittiriya Upanishad, which is called Bhrigu. Valli means a section of the Upanishad. Here, what happens? There is a sage Bhrigu and a sage Varuna, and these sages have conversation. One is father and the other is the son. The son asks a series of questions to the father, and the father answers not directly, but after certain introspection. We'll see. Let me point out some of the salient features of Upanishadic style of teachings. Upanishads mainly confine the discussion to questions that are existential in nature. That means, from where does this universe exist? Where did I come from? Whence did I come from? Where am I headed to? What is all this kind of questions? And constantly urges an individual to deeply introspect about its true identity rather than giving you volumes and volumes of pages and discussing on that. It first asks you to self-introspect. Only then will they expound upon the experience that you have. Some of the topics of discussions usually include in the Upanishads: origin of the universe, origin of life on the earth, including human beings, goals and purpose of life, way variant and invariant aspects of reality, the 7 planes of existence, Brahman or the omnipresence, and the means to know Brahman, etc. This particular Taittiriya Upanishad example that I am taking, here the discussion happens about the Brahman and the means to know Brahman. So Bhrigu, desirous of knowing Brahman, approaches his father Varuna, and the conversation goes as follows. He approaches the father and he asks, my dear father and Guru, I bow to you. I want to know what this Brahman is, that I see the word a lot in the Vedanta and the Veda. Then, instead of directly answering, the father replies, that from which all the beings are born, that which supports their life, that into which they enter and dissolve in the end is Brahman. And then he says, now ponder upon this and find out what the word that is symbolizing in this statement. Now Bhrigu, very first attempt, he goes, he lives his life of austerities. He starts contemplating, meditating. Slowly, he realizes that beings are born out of matter, which is annam. The word annam in Veda means matter. They live in the support of matter, and when they die, the matter decomposes and sets back from wherever it came. Therefore, by the premise that you have given, annam must be Brahman. Therefore, the matter that I see itself is God for me. That's what he says. Then he goes back to his father. His father smiles. He says, yes, absolutely right. After a while, Bhrigu gets a doubt. If annam is Brahman, then something is steering this matter. What is steering this matter? Well, I'm asleep yesterday night. Today I'm walking and talking. What is driving this lump of flesh and bones from the state of sleep to activity? He starts questioning. His father again says the same statement. That's why I haven't repeated that statement. You have to imagine here that the same statement is uttered by the father and again instructed that you have to meditate it. Now the second stage of understanding. Now that he has understood matter is not Brahman, he goes little beyond. He again meditates. He understands as follows. Okay, beings are born out of life animating principle, which is called prana. Prana means your life, basically. It's what we call as life in biology and philosophy. What the life element is what is making us different from stones and rocks. So that must be everything, because from that everything is born, in that everything exists, into it everything goes, and it alone exists even after the dissolution of the body, which means it must be Brahman. So prana is Brahman, he concludes. He's very happy. If he thinks that he has found Brahman, he goes to his father back. The cycle repeats. His father smiles, says the same thing, and again asks him to go and meditate. When he realizes that, well, there is something beyond prana, that something must be steering this prana. Like, how do life animating principle know what to do at what time? What is the deciding factor? Then he again sits to meditation. He, after some days or years, basically he understands that there is another thing called mind. Because mind exists, he knows that he is existing. Like Rene Descartes, he says, I hope you know Descartes, right? He says, I think, therefore I am. So the thinking beings, the word humans in Sanskrit is manava. Manava means the beings of Manu. Manu means mind. The cosmic mind, or the mind as a whole group of minds, is called Manu, who is personified to sage Manu in the scriptures. So the thinking beings predominantly exist because of the thinking. So mind is what makes us understand all the above steps. Therefore, naturally, Bhrigu is thinking, beings are born out of mind, they live in the support of the mind, and when they die, they become one with the mind, because mind ceases to exist for us, but mind might exist. Well, afterlife is little, you can say, far-fetching logical deduction he would have got. Again, he's happy there. The cycle repeats. He goes back. After a few days, he's again unhappy that mind is not there because he has observed in some deep stages of meditations, his mind vanished, but still he existed. In his sleep, his mind vanished. He existed. Therefore, something is not adding up. He thought mind was everything, but it's not adding up. Then he realized more than mind, there is something called Vijnanam. Here, Vijnanam in the Upanishad, the Vijnanam means buddhi or your intellect or that faculty in you which shows what is right and wrong. That which helps you, what we call as willpower, comes from this buddhi, your choosing ability. So he realized the mind might be deciding some factors, but I do have a choice principle. From where is this coming? So that must be Brahman. Maybe the buddhi, the Vijnanam is Brahman, he concludes. He is almost there. Yet again, he realizes maybe this is also not Brahman because after choosing, before choosing, what am I choosing for? Why am I choosing? He started questioning. Why do we choose anything? Let's say I wanted to order a pizza right now. Why am I choosing that? Because to quench the desire of my tongue. Someone wants to go to a mandir. Why did they choose going to mandir at that time? Because they wanted to quench the desire of offering something to the god, the devotional desire. So fulfillment of desire is one aspect. If you go backwards and ask why the fulfillment is needed, then the question comes to be happy. Everything boils down to what is known as Anandam. The word Anandam in the Veda, in Hindi Anand, is basically the word denoting bliss. More than happiness, we can call it bliss, which is causeless happiness, unconditional happiness. So finally, after all the iterations of his progressive development, he concludes, well, beings are born out of Anandam. They live in the support of the bliss and they become one with the bliss after the whole of the journey. And hence he concludes the Anandam is Brahman. And then his father says, yes, this is the final truth and there's nothing beyond it. Then he asks his father, why have you not suggested this at the first itself? Why did you wait until these many years? Then his father says, if I would have taught you or said about this when you were at the stage of material understanding, you wouldn't have even understood what I was coining. Secondarily, it would be meaningless for you because you haven't even crossed the layer that thinking matter is everything. So the stages of matter, life, mind, buddhi, and then the bliss, all these layers are, you can call it as a progressive stage of understanding. And this progress is shown in the way the father is teaching the son. This is the very unique style of teaching because even though the first utterance is a semi-truth and not completely truth, the father did not deny at the start unless the student came with the doubt that something is wrong with his own conclusions. This is the art of installing self-thinking in a child. You should never directly give direct truths to the child. You should make them think about the truth. Let them experiment. Let them come to conclusion on their own. That is when the real thinking beings will be nourished in a country like ours. So this boils down to what is known as the Panchakosha theory of the Upanishad. Kosha here means the layer of existence. We all exist because of our body, because of our life, because of our mind, because of our buddhi, and finally the bliss or the soul stage that is existing very inside of us. So every step of your progressive realization is true, relatively, but the final step encompasses the previous steps and hence remains the truth absolute to be meditated upon by any earnest seeker. So the essence in the Taittiriya was that the 5-layered existence is what was discovered by Prabhu as a series of introspections, and the truth was imparted in a graded wise rather than imparting directly And that is how we also learn, if you remember mathematics, first we learn non-calculus based math, then slowly we transform into calculus based math. Similarly, in truth, there are always gradations of truth, and we have to understand it in the doses as per our, you can say, stage of existence and evolution. Going forward, Chandogya Upanishad, the story from the Chandogya Upanishad of quarrel amongst the senses. So once upon a time, all the sense organs fought amongst themselves as to who is superior to the others. Here, sense organs are not only the sense organs like we usually call. You'll see that the mind and the life prana are also considered as senses here. Basically, senses here means every instrument to the soul that uses to input the information and output the reactions. So they go to Prajapati. Prajapati, the word here means God, and some places it means the Lord of Praja. Praja means the beings who are born. So the Lord of everything that is born is God. Therefore, Prajapati means God in the situation. And they wanted a solution because they are unable to end the fight. It's a beautiful story, symbolic. Now the Prajapati says that, okay, one of you leave the body and stay outside for 1 year and then come back. When, in whichever case, the body suffers the most, then naturally that sense organ is the most important and hence will be the king of all the others. Now everyone agreed upon this solution because it was meaningful. So one by one, you actually leaves and comes back and then inquires as to how the body and other senses were there. First, the speech left and then returned. And it asked, well, guys, how are you after I left? Did you suffer the most or did you suffer the least? Everyone answered, we were unable to speak and communicate, but everything else is fine because we were able to eat, breathe, sleep. Everything was fine except for communication. We could use our hands and other limbs to communicate, in fact. Well, okay, speech was a little disappointed. And so it thought, okay, I'm not the most important organ. I thought I was because most of the time humans use me a lot because we keep on blabbering every time. They don't even stop for a moment to stop speaking and think. The next, sight left and returned. And then it asked, well, I presume you have to have suffered because majority time of humans, usually they deal with sight. They keep on looking at things. And in modern day, it is more so because we keep on looking at our cell phones, screens, whatnot. Even at the time of sleep, we do that. So I thought it would be the most important thing, the sight, I mean, sorry. Well, the other senses said, well, we couldn't see, but we did walk around, we did get our food, we ate, we left, we slept, we drank, we enjoyed. Everything was fine except for the sight problem. The sight was also a little disappointed. Then the hearing left. Most of us do not give importance to hearing, but hearing is very important because when you look at a movie, for example, it's the background score that gives meaning to what you look. Imagine you are watching a movie with muted sound. You don't get all the feeling, right? So music is often associated with emotion, and that is audible only through ears or hearing sense per se, because sound can also go through your scalp, etc. Again, the organ said we couldn't hear the outer world. Yeah, it was manageable because that we did find little difficulty, but still we did manage and we are happy in the sense that we did not suffer the most as such. Then mind left and returned, and it asked. It thought it would be the king because after all, Manavas are named after my name, the mind, and I must be the king in everyone. Therefore, without me, they can't do anything. Then the sensor said, well, we were like a child whose mind was newly forming, Just because you're not there doesn't mean we don't enjoy, because we were enjoying. We slept. In sleep, you anyway won't exist, you dissolve. Therefore, we again woke up. Well, everything is fine. Except, yeah, the memory, the remembering aspect, these things are lost. But for the moment, it was all good. We can feel that sense of continuity, even though we don't remember the specifics. Mind was also disappointed. So all the four were disappointed. One sense was remaining, and that is prana, or the breath itself. When it was about to leave, then all the senses realized, oh my God, if breath leaves or prana leaves, that's it. They'll cremate us. We are all dead beings, and we can't again revive. So they requested prana to stay, and they unanimously agreed that yes, prana is the lord of all senses. Here, though it is a beautiful story, and this is how you teach children, it is also how you teach elders and adults like us, because if we say prana is important, yeah, life, but you might, push it aside. When you put it in a logical and a proper perspective of order, you see the order that they maintain. First, a speech. That means even if you don't speak, nothing happens. So you can close your mouth and stay for a longer durations, not speak. Still, things will be good. In fact, things will be better also if you speak regulated. Most of the problems in our life comes because we slip our tongue. कुछ बोल देते हैं हम बिना सोच के, and then it starts creating hurdles between our friends, between our parents and us, between our teachers and us. And when we are especially pride dominated, that time we utter, and then we start repenting later. I shouldn't have uttered, because you cannot take a word that is uttered. So the less you speak, the better it will be. Again, the sight. Well, this shows that the less you use the sight, the better it is, because even though you don't use your sight, you are existing. So close your eyes and start understanding what is happening inside. Isn't that what meditation says? Of course, not 24/7. Then you'll be taken to, I don't know. It's very hard. We are not sages. We will be put into Himalayan cave. Not 24/7, but yeah, at given proper amount of set of free times, when our presence is not required by our friends and teachers, that time you can close your eyes and then try to understand what it means to be without the sight outward, but with the sight inward. So these are the hidden message I'm trying to convey here. Then the hearing. Well, if you notice, when you're reading a book very dedicatedly, even though there's a Diwali cracker playing outside, you sometimes wouldn't even respond to that. Which means just because ears are open doesn't mean you have to hear everything. You have the control or regulating ability to shun away the connection to the hearing aid. Which means by slowly reducing hearing, you can realize that is first less speaking, less outward, and then less outward seeing, and then less outward hearing. If you stop and start going inward, then you'll realize that you're still better, you're refining yourself, and you're very close to the what your being is. Then mind left. That means you need to dissolve your mind. How will we dissolve our mind? This is what we'll see in the section called Yoga Philosophy. As to Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, there are 3 stages of dissolving mind. So dissolution of mind implies not entertaining the other sense organs we have. Like mind has its own existence either via speech, via touch, via hearing, via smell, via taste, and via other thoughts that it has. When you dissolve all of these, then you realize, in fact, you'll become childlike. And childlike, hum bolte, right? Bachcho mein Bhagwan hai. That means when you become childlike, you will be almost godlike, because your mind is not interfering with your real being, and your real being starts to shine forth. The layer of your individualized ego mind will slowly disappear. And finally, when you realize the whole life is based on breath, here comes the pranayama aspect of the yoga. which is to regulate the breath itself. Here, prana is not actually breath, though people translate as breath. Prana is the life currents that are flowing inside. I don't know if I can coin the word life current, but that's the closest English translation we can give to prana. It is you can call it that element which basically animates you. If you can identify that, you'll realize that that itself is the ultimate. Well, you might see some difference here. In the previous story, we saw the pranamaya was closer to the annamaya, and then we went beyond that. Here, among the quarrel of senses, we said the prana was the ultimatum. These differences exist for different grades of people to reach that stage. Once you reach a stage that the prana is the ultimatum or the sense or everything, here you will also ignore that prana as a breath or prana as a life current. You'll go beyond that. And as I said, you are shunning out each and every sense and trying to go inward and inward and inward. And when you also regulate prana, never it was pranahara. Remember, in the Sanskrit literature, in the all our literature, mind was shunned, senses was shunned, everything was shunned. But prana was never shunned, it was regulated. Prana yama, yama means to regulate. So it is through regulation only will you realize what God is or who is the king of your own self. So this is the story conveyed in the Chandogya Upanishad about the quarrel amongst the senses. On the outer side, it shows how breathing is very important in us. In the inner side, it shows the stages of going to the regulation of breath as the art of realizing God. Now, one more story we have from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The story is called Da Da Da. There are 3 Das. Basically, it is like the thunderstorms, utterances. The story goes as follows. There are 3 descendants of Prajapati. Again, Prajapati means God. The 3 descendants are gods, humans, and asuras. Here, gods means the lesser gods. When I meant Prajapati as the god, he is the god or omnipresent god or omnipotent, omniscient, whatever you coin the word. So here, gods, humans, and asuras are the 3 descendants of Prajapati. Now, they all wanted to learn and tutelage under Prajapati as to how to lead life, what is there for them to learn, everything. Finally, when the conclusion came, as they want to seek the essence of what Prajapati has to teach them, each of them approached individually to Prajapati for their ultimate last lessons. Well, Prajapati speaks in parables. He speaks very less, and in fact, he spoke only 1 syllable da to each of them. It goes as follows. First, the Devas went to the Prajapati, and the Prajapati said, Da. Have you understood? He asked. The Deva said, yes. It is Damyata that we have to inculcate, which is to be self-controlled, is what is understood by them. The reason is the Devas are all powerful beings. If they do not have the self-control, they have very high possibility of falling into the category of asuras. Then humans. They went to the Prajapati, and Prajapati said, again, another Da. Again, he asked to the humans, have you understood? Well, the human said, yes. We have understood that we have to learn datta. That means to be charitable, to be ready to help whoever asks for us, for our help, or whoever deserves and needs our help. Then asuras went. For asuras, because they are mostly into negative aspects, for them, again, he said, da. And asura said, oh, okay, we have understood that we have to be compassionate. And that is the culture we have to inculcate upon. These are the 3 das, which are very important lessons for any spiritual seeker. Damyata, datta, and dayatvam. That means compassion, daya. So, in essence, the asuras, the negative part of us, all these, where do they exist? Inside us all, right? They're not separate from us, they are inside us. The asura means the negative part of us. First, the moment we inculcate compassion, if our friend is unable to study, compassionately we help them to study. If they're unable to travel, we give them a lift. So the compassion starts in our hostel life, actually. Some of us initially will be selfish, and slowly we'll open up and start being compassionate. And that is when the asura lakshanas, or the negative habits or traits in us, starts to nullify. Then the human part in us needs to be trained in the art of charity. The more you give, the more we are helping. And this giving is not meaningless giving. Not that I donate 2 lakhs or 3 lakh rupees to some organization, which already has, and if we give or don't give doesn't matter to them. So the datta here is basically about your attitude of giving and your attitude of being ready to give when necessary and deemed necessary by your own discriminative faculty, the buddhi. Unless it suggests you shouldn't. Out of fear or out of force, you should never. The charity should come from within as an attitude and as a love of heart. And finally, the divine aspects of us needs to be trained and protected from falling off from the path of self-control. Without being self-controlled, we can never aim to achieve anything that is highest in our life. So the 3 things that are very important. What are they? Namyata, Datta, and Dayatvam. This is another story from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Like this, every Upanishad has one or the other stories to convey to us very, very, very intricate, sublime, complex truths in a very easy way, as if we say, like food with butter. It's that smooth that they give to us. It's only that we have to open in our life at least once and see what these are. Otherwise, we can never understand. When the foreign nationals like Niels Bohr and Schrodinger and these people are opening and studying, even after being successful Nobel laureates, what is stopping us from opening and studying? I don't understand. So it is today or tomorrow, go to your library, open some of the Upanishads. I think there are very good books in the library, in our LNM library. I have studied a lot there. You will get nice books. Sankalp should also have good books. I don't know what's the status now. We have collected a lot of books in those days. You can get books everywhere. Try to open them and read. Then you will understand. So this is in totality what we have to understand as to the 4 divisions of the Veda, the Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad parts of the Veda. In summary, each Veda consists of the 4 parts I just mentioned. Samhita is the main text consisting of the mantras of the Veda. In the Rig Veda Samhita, there are around 10,500 mantras, and the rest of the statistics we have seen in the earlier lectures. The Brahmanas expand and explain the mantras of the Veda in a very detailed manner, but it will be mostly in terms of ritualistic approach. The Aranyakas rather does the same job, but in mostly philosophical approach, and helps us start our journey inward. But that which takes our journey inward to the fullest heights is the Upanishads. And they are the philosophical treatises dealing with the ultimate problems of life that every one of us confronts. There are 108 Upanishads available, and out of them, 10 are the principal Upanishads, for which we even gave a shloka to remember. You might note the questions down. These for this topic. What are the key differences between the Samhita portion and the Brahmana portion of the Veda? So answers for most of the questions I'm giving can be found from the IKS textbook as well as the references therein. So try to also go through the references in each chapter. You will find some of the answers. So some questions are taken directly from the book and some are my own. What are the key differences between the Samhita portion and Brahmana portion of the Veda? What does the word Upanishad mean? What is the purpose of the Upanishads? What shloka helps us remember the 10 principal Upanishads? Name each of the 10 separately. Explore the 10 principal Upanishads and write a summary on each of the 10 Upanishads, one para per Upanishad. This would be a very hard job, I would say. It might take some months if you really sit through it. But there are already works like works of Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan or Sivananda Saraswati, and there are some people who have summarized the Vedas before summarized the Upanishads before commenting on the Upanishads. You can try to read that as well and try to make a paragraph. In fact, if you can also accumulate certain very important, like say 10 points per Upanishad as to what is the important in this 10. So a total of 100 points will come out of the Upanishads, which you can stick in the hallway or in the clubs for others to know. And this can be part of an IKS small project. What does the conversation of Bhrigu and Varuna convey to the modern world? You have heard the conversation about the 5 layered existence. Dharnamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. So what does it suggest, or how do you utilize it, that knowledge or that approach or the conversation in the modern day world? That's my question here. Write your critical views on what eminent people spoke about the Upanishads. I have given 10 eminent people's statements on Upanishads. So I would like you to comment critically upon those statements. Not that we are in a place to comment on those big statured statements, but it is for us to understand the in and outs of those utterances as to what you have understood. I wanted to see. So that is the further division of each Veda. Now we will enter into the 6 Vedangas part. Vedanga is a complex word made of 2 simpler words, Veda and Anga. Anga means a limb. So Vedanga means the limbs of the Veda. Veda is mostly predominantly orally transmitted, that we have seen. That means a good knowledge on how the sounds are produced is necessary to reproduce its utterance. Naturally, because if I don't have the knowledge of how the sounds are being produced, or if I hear a word and I misunderstand or misrepresent it, and I will misunderstand the whole purport of the Veda. We need a complete clarity in as to what the sentences of the Vedic text are conveying. If I do not know the structure of a sentence as to what it conveys, is the statement referring to the object, or is the statement referring to the other object? If we do not know, what can we understand when we read the statements? We can't. A good knowledge of meters is very much important because the majority portion of the Veda is composed in metrical verses. Etymological science is also needed because there are multiple uses of the same word and multiple family of words of the same root word used in the Veda. And if we do not know the depths of these words, we cannot apply the Veda in everyday life. Vedic lifestyle has yajna as its core, and we have seen it in the Yajurveda part of the Veda. So naturally, we need to understand how a yajna is to be. Yajna means the fire ritual, how it is to be conducted, for which you need a yajna sala, the altar, fire altar, in what precise denominations it should be constructed, what precise measurements needs to be taken. All these things you need to know. Otherwise, you won't understand again the yajna part of the Veda, which is a central theme. And the placement of human soul in the context of cosmos and the existing symbolism relation to be explained to give the purpose of harmonious living. All these salient points, basically, we have given here to summarize the words that are going to come. The 6 Vedangas, you can say 6 points, right? For these reasons, 6 Vedangas have been, you can say, structured to understand the Veda. So very first is called the science of phonetics or Siksha. This helps you understand the sound aspect of the Veda, which syllable to be pronounced in which duration and which tone and which style, etc. needs to be known. Then we have Vyakarana, the science of grammar, basically the structure of sentence, the word forming, the grammatical aspects. If they are not known, you can never understand if the, let's say, shloka is pointing down to one being or many beings. And also the gender of the subject. Because unlike the regular grammars, the Vedic grammar is completely different. Chandas, the science of prosody or the science of meters in poetry, helps us understand what style of meters are being used, what is the context, why specific meter is used in specific context, etc. What other information will I get? Nirupta, the science of etymology. Basically, how a root word is formed, from root word family and tree of words are formed, and so on and so forth. Kalpa, the science of rituals, as I said, the precise measurements of each and every yajna is to be known. And Jyotisha, I don't call this as astrology in our course, rather I would like to call it as the science of light, because the literal meaning of Jyotisha means that which is the science of light. Here we can understand the light implies the light coming from outside the earth and hence the cosmic influence. Vedangas, as I said, are 6 limbs of the Veda, the Shadangas. They each are called Shadangas. Shat means 6. There is a shloka which suggests which Vedanga is which limb of the Veda personified called Veda Purusha. So the shloka reads as follows. Chandaha padau tu Vedasya hastau kalpo atha pathyate Jyotata shamayanam chakshuta niruktam shrotra mumu yayate shikshaghranam tu vedasya mukham vyakaranam smrutam tasmat sang madhityaiva brahmaloke mahiyate. That means one who knows the Veda through its 6 limbs as pointed out will attain the truth as extolled in the Veda. What are those 6 limbs? Shiksha is basically the nose of the Veda Purusha. Vyakarana, the mouth of the Veda Purusha. Nirukta, the ears of the Veda Purusha. Chandas, the feet of the Veda Purusha. Kalpa, the hands of the Veda Purusha. And Jyotisha, the eyes of the Veda Purusha. Do you think this is a random association, or do you think there is a particular reason for it? Can someone comment upon that? Akshansh Singh. Are you there, Mr. Akshansh? Akshansh or someone who is available can venture into commenting on, is this association, will there be any logic, or is this a random association, and if so, why not? I would like to hear your thoughts. Of course, I would explain, but if your thoughts are put forward, I'll be happy to hear. Can anyone who is interested to speak? Okay, they are not daring enough. You need to be daring. Come on. Swami Vivekananda envisioned an India made up of youth who are much braver than lions. But I won't want to complete the but statement. Okay, I will only venture into explaining. Why is Siksha the nose? What did we say Siksha to be? Siksha is the science of intonation. That means how to utter a syllabus. It is the nose of the Veda because through nose we breathe, and through nose the nasika letters will be there. Nasika means there are some nasal sounds that you produce, which gives the stress and tone to the utterances you are giving. Hence, the Siksha is often compared to the nose of the Purusha. It is as important as nose because if you close your nose, you die. So if Siksha is not there, the whole Veda perishes. It is because of Siksha that the whole Veda is still dead since more than 5,000 to 6,000 years is still alive. So it is the very breathing agent of the Veda. Now, Vyakarana is a mouth because mouth articulates the words and puts it into sentence form. Through mouth, we eat food to live. So, Vyakarana is to the Veda Purusha what articulation in eating food is to us. So, Vyakarana not only structures and gives shape to the Veda, it also feeds us with the information necessary that is being conveyed through the Veda, because without the grammar, the whole understanding is meaningless. Then Nirukta is ears because through ears you hear the differences between the subtleties, and Nirukta, when it utters a word in different contexts, the subtle differences are to be known through the etymological key, and hence the hearing agent is associated with Nirukta. It is to say that ears can see even in the dark. Basically, in the dark, when no light is there, nothing else is there, it is ears that help us. In the same way, when you don't have other tools, even Vyakarana is not there, let's say, at least with the Nirukta, you will be able to get 50 to 60% of the meaning derived from the Veda, because you would know what each and every word, the important words, are meaning there. Then we have Chandas. Chandas are feet because the movement of the Veda depends on the Chandas, the meter. Based on the meter and the beat only, a musical movement will be there, right? If I change the musical beat, the whole flow changes. You might have heard the Shiva Tandava Stotram, right? Jatatavi Kalachvala Pravahapa Vitasthale Gale Valam Yalam Vitam Bhujangatunga Malikam Damat 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 Ninadavat Damar Vayam Chakara Chanda Tandavam Tanotuna Shiva Shivam. In that, you might have seen there is a takita, 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 takita. There is a beautiful flow that is going. That flow is what is Chandas. So it is fit because the way you dance and the way you utter is always have a synchronization in the Vedic scenarios. That's why in the Bharatanatyam and other classical dances, there is always a person who utters the beats while the dancer is dancing, like tarigata, 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 like that. They keep uttering things because utterance and feet are always linked there, and that is chandas, and hence chandas are the feet of the Veda Purusha. Then kalpa are called the hands because what do you do with the hands? You try to deal with everyday things. You try to give and take. You try to basically you dynamize yourself with the hands. So all the dynamic actions that are happening with the hands is because of kalpa. Because in kalpa, basically in the yajna, you have to construct with your own hands the altar. You need to fill it with the wood. You need to use the arani, the instrument that produces the fire. You need to put the ghee in it. You need to utter forth the mantras and enact some symbols which are called the mudras, and so on and so forth. Therefore, kalpa is often associated with hands of the Veda. Jyotisha, the eyes, naturally because it is science of light. Self-explanatory. Thus, Chanda Padau, that means Chanda is Pada, the feet. Vedasya Hastau, Kalpo, the Kalpa is the Hasta of the Veda. Then Jyotisha is the eye, Nayanam, and then Shrotram, that means ears, are Niruktam, and so on and so forth. The whole shloka is saying Siksha is, I gave a different order because this is the order we follow in exposing our lectures. So Shiksha is nose, Vyakarana is mouth, Nirikta is ears, Chandas is feet, Kalpa is hands, and Jyotisha is eyes. I hope you don't have any doubt in these things. Shiksha, as I said, is the science of phonetics, and it is one of the beautiful sciences developed in the country of India. No other place in the world has developed a particular science of phonetics in that distant past. We have actually observed all the sounds coming from our throat region to lips region, and we have divided the whole set of words into certain categories. The nada is the basis of sound. So what Siksha says is that nada is the basis of sound. It generates at a subtle level. For example, even now, if you can remember your favorite song, you're able to hear the song even though you don't have any speakers. That you can call it as the memory of the song, and that permeates such memory of the tone or musical melody can be called as a nada. That is the subtle nada. From there, if you have to utter for the song that you're remembering, you will follow the instructions of that memory to utter. We call it the physical song. So this nada generates the gross physical organs vibrating to produce the song. So Siksha itself suggests this following thing. The nada generates at subtle level, directing the gross physical organs to vibrate the air within your vocals to generate a sound. The tongue acts as a key plug that at different placements of the tongue on your palate in the mouth, you utter different aksharas or varnas. And what are all the categories we have categorized into? First, we categorized as nasika. That means which need your nasal effort. I was unable to type it in the Hindi or Sanskrit lipi, Devanagari lipi basically. So I put the English transliteration. I will read them out. The nya, nya, ang, basically the what you use in Jnanam, then what you use in Pingala, and then Ana, and then Na, and Ma. These are all the syllables which require your nasal effort. If you have cold, and then if you speak, or if you close your nose and try to utter these letters or syllables, you wouldn't be able to utter. Hence, they are all categorized into nasal effort letters called Nasika Shabda. Then we have Murdha, that means the upper palate syllables, which are, now try to utter these and you will realize these are, the tongue will be touching the upper palate. The Ra, Ta, Ha, Da, Dha, Ana, Ra, and Sha. For Sha, again you are putting your tongue upwards. You can see Ana is both nasal as well as Murdha because it requires both nasal effort and the upper palate. Then we have the labials or the lips. In Sanskrit, they are called Oshtau. Oshtau means lips. Au means dual tense. The two lips together are called Oshtau. Single means Oshtaha. So Oshtau, the lips, using lips, we utter U, because I can't say U without me putting my lips in a curved fashion. Then Pa, Pa, Ba, Bha, and Ma. All these require your lips coordination to utter for. Then we have Dantaha, that means using the teeth. L, Ta, Tha, Da, Bha, Na, La, Sa. When your teeth are missing, almost every of these letters will look like kind of air escapes through your jaw, what do you call gums. So basically, without teeth, these syllables or letters cannot be uttered. That's why they are called dantaha. See how scientific they are. They just did not form language just like that. They recognized the places, they recognized the where or what organ in your oral cavity is playing a role in developing certain syllable. Then we have talu, means palate, like I, cha, ha, ja, cha, ya, sha. These are all the things that require your palate for utterance. And finally, we have kantaha, that means your throat. A, ka, kha, ga, gha, ha. As you can see very beautifully, other than this, nowhere else in your oral cavity you can produce sounds. That is why the Indic languages whose roots are taking from Sanskrit, though people say about the Dravidian origin and Dravidian invasion and Dravidian languages, there are many good scholars who do not take to that theory because it was during the British time that was introduced to separate India as a whole. There are proofs using etymology how even Sanskrit and the further languages of India had a most common old Vedic Sanskrit as a language, and before that there have been much beautiful language already prevalent. We can see that person trained in the Indic languages can speak other languages very fluently when they learn, like English, or you go to any other country, you will be able to catch up their words very easily and utter. But when they are trying to utter your name, they struggle a lot because the rhythm and the logical learning of particular language is not as refined as we have it in our Sanskrit and other languages. So what we have in the Siksha first proposes that Nasika Shabdas, Murdha Shabdas, Oshthav Shabdas, Dantaha Shabdas, Talu Shabdas, and Kantha Shabdas are there, which predominantly govern whole of the language. And the science of phonetics also has a temporal factor, that means the time factor. Either I can say or I can say or I can say an exclamation. Oh my God. Oh wow. We say in English, right? That elongated exclamation things come, which is called pluta. Therefore, we have harasva, short, dirgha, long, and pluta, which are elongated, which in terms of exclamations. This is a time factor introduced into your utterance that changes the word's meanings and the structure of the word. And the pitch factor. For example, we have 3 pitches in the Veda. Udatta, very high pitch, like sa. And then you have Anudatta, low pitch. And then you have Swarita, that which is a combination of both the upper and lower swaras. In that way, you have a pitch factor and temporal factor to the Siksha. And I wanted to share a small story. And let me see. Yeah, there is a story where in the Veda itself, there is the story. There is a whole shloka on it. Mantro, hina, swarato, varnato, va, etc. I didn't put it in the slide. By next class, I'll put that in the slide, I hope. The story goes as follows. There is someone called Twasta who wanted to kill Indra and want to take revenge. So he does a yajna where he wants to beget a son who can kill Indra because he himself is unable to kill. But instead of chanting the mantra, Indras Chatur, Vardhasva, etc., instead of putting the higher pitches and lower pitch in particular order, he changes the pitch. Like instead of stressing on Dra as a high pitch, he stresses as low pitch. And instead of stretching Indra, the Vardhashva, instead of keeping it in the lower pitch, he'll keep it in the higher pitch. Because of this transmutation of the pitches, instead of he desiring for a son who can kill Indra, he gets a son who will be killed by Indra. And this is the danger that Veda, in a story form, they suggest that would occur if you interchange the pitch of even a word. That means when you learn Veda, not only the dictionary meaning is important, the intonation also has a specific meaning associated with it, and there is a danger of wrongly desiring something or wrongly attributing something without our knowledge. Hence, knowledge of Siksha is utmost important to learn the Veda. I will stop here, and from Vyakarana onwards, we will learn in the next class. If